Oh, here's an interesting one. So, not too surprised in all honesty that Bernie Ecclestone's been in the media recently with us being in Brazil, and that's where he lives these days, just giving his bold takes on Formula 1. Some say bold, other people say stupid. I'll let you guys decide that. But interestingly, Mr. Wolff, the big bad wolf himself, Toto Wolff, is agreeing with him about Sir Lewis Hamilton. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this. Full article on the F1 Chronicle.com, guys. I'm sure this isn't going to annoy anybody, but let's have a look. Bernie Ecclestone doubts Lewis Hamilton will ever add a record 8th Drivers' World title to his tally. Although the 39-year-old's decision to switch to Ferrari next year caught Toto Wolff by surprise, the Mercedes boss admits it also helps Mercedes, because it avoids the moment where we need to tell the sport's most iconic driver that we want to stop, the Austrian told the new book Inside Mercedes F1 Life in their Fast Lane. We're in a sport where cognitive sharpness is extremely important. I like the situation Wolff, who is replacing Hamilton with 18-year-old protege Kimi Antonelli, added. Football managers like Sir Alex Ferguson or Pep Guardiola, they anticipated it in the performance of their top stars and brought in junior players that drove the team for the next years. Yes, I mean there's more to it than that. It's a team sport in terms of there being several players on the pitch in terms of football, but in F1 it's the one person in the car, obviously a massive team behind them in the garage and back at base. But I see what he's saying. I see what he's saying here. I get the comparison. Indeed, Hamilton has notably struggled alongside teammate George Russell in the new ground effect era starting in 22, and the last time out in Brazil he even hinted at that he'd prefer a holiday over finishing the actual season. And former F1 Supremo Ecclestone doubts Hamilton will shine in red next year. I believe he won't, the Britain told Daily Mail. Should spit probably after saying that name, but yeah. When asked if he thinks Hamilton can race past his and Michael Schumacher's joint record of 7 Drivers' World titles, I don't think it will be easy for Lewis, especially in that team. They will back Charles Leclerc, said Ecclestone. He's quick and has grown up there. They won't dump him for anyone. I mean, to an extent, that's fair. But to count Hamilton out like that's a bit strong, I'd say. However, from a money-making perspective, Ecclestone thinks Hamilton was wise to accept Ferrari's advances. He couldn't exist any longer at Mercedes, he said. Either he's given up with them, or they have given up with him. They won't do much to keeping him, so he's better off going. Again, I don't disagree. I think like Wolff kind of alluded to, it would have been a very difficult decision to oust him, to get rid of him in favour of Kimi Antonelli. Even though as good as Antonelli is, Hamilton is, the most successful driver and team pairing in the history of Formula 1 is Lewis and Mercedes. The most wins, the most races, the most podiums, the most poles, the most fastest laps, most everything, I believe. He's got a lot. Although Max Verstappen's doing his best to challenge that at Red Bull, of course. He would have to walk away from a lot financially, said Ecclestone. It's a big deal he has got, though I suspect the bonus clauses written into his contract are there to make him feel good rather than reality. For John Elkman, the guy who runs it, it was a big ego thing. He thought he had captured the best guy the world had ever seen. If Lewis is fading, which I don't like to see, he should go away and do something else and do a good job at it. I mean, there are some people who share Bernie Ecclestone's opinions. I mean, some people in my comment section there on the F1Chronicle.com do go along with that, and that is an opinion that people have. I personally don't agree with it. I see why people think that. For me, Hamilton still has something to offer. Would people say that Fernando Alonso has nothing to offer at Aston Martin? Yeah, some people would say that. But again, I think he's still got something to offer. And I feel like there's a few factors at play here. I feel like, especially this year, because Ecclestone's right when he's saying that, Hamilton, I think, has struggled to adapt to the new cars. I see where he's coming from with that, I do. But I would say that Mercedes have struggled even more to adapt to the cars. And let's not forget, Hamilton has won 2 races this year. In particular, that race at the British Grand Prix, he was incredible. He was back to his best there, and that really, really showed how talented of a driver he is and how he deserves to still be in Formula 1. So, saying that the guy is fading is one thing. Is he as good as he was in 2021? Don't know. Hard to say, impossible to say. But he might be. Now there's some other factors here, and I've said this in a few videos before, but another factor to all this as well is that at the start of the year, before we even turned a wheel in pre-season testing, it was certainly before the first race of the season, Hamilton announced to the world and also to Mercedes that he's leaving. He's going. So at that point, Mercedes' attention when it comes to upgrading the car, to making the car as fast as possible, will have been geared towards George Russell. And because of that, the different driving styles, Russell probably, that explains why, in general, Russell, especially recently, since the summer break, has been better than him. He's been better than him overall, There's no doubt in that. But I feel like the car is set up around George Russell now. Now, in the past, it might have been the case that it was set up around Hamilton. In fact, I'd wager in 22 and 23, it probably was. But Hamilton still did a really good job in those seasons overall. I believe he beat George Russell in the Drivers' Championship fair and square in both those years. The difference now is that Hamilton's leaving. That's no longer his team. For now, that's George Russell's team. Now, Kimi might take that mantle from him eventually, who knows? But right now, that car is set up to work around George. Simple as that. Now, getting on to Ferrari. Let's reflect on that. Let's look forward to that as well, because do Ferrari set the car up around Sir Lewis Hamilton? I think he's probably right when he says no. But does that mean that Hamilton can't drive the car? That he can't be as fast as Leclerc? Maybe not at first. 2025 could be a difficult year for Hamilton. Charles Leclerc could well be faster. But that car right now, that Ferrari car, is markedly better than the Mercedes. So in terms of a performance point of view, I could easily see Sir Lewis finishing above both Antonelli and Russell in the Drivers' Championship next year. I think Ferrari could well finish, they could win the Constructors' Championship next year. They could win it this year. They have some really good final races. They could do. It's unlikely, but they could. Although I'd like to see that as a McLaren fan, but it's possible. They're second right now. And who would have seen that coming after the Belgian Grand Prix? They were fourth. They were dead and buried pretty much at that point. At least it seemed like they were going to get fourth anyway. So there is that. And then on top of that as well, 26 comes around. That's a new regulation change. That is something where experience counts. Now, of course, Hamilton and Leclerc are both experienced. Leclerc has been in Formula 1 since 2018. So that'll be his, what will that be? That'll be his 9th season in 2026. Hamilton will be in his 20th season. And Hamilton would have also been through the last huge regulation change in 2014. Obviously, we've had big regulation changes in 2017, in 2022, but this is a new engine formula. Leclerc has only known one engine formula, so I feel like the experience of Hamilton could well make the difference there. So I won't go writing off Hamilton. He's still got something to offer. He's still an incredible driver. Don't go forcing him out the door. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because I know there's some people that have been commenting saying Hamilton's washed, he's a has-been, he's useless, he should get out of the sport, he's too old. I don't agree with that viewpoint personally. I really don't. But I know that some people do, so what's your take? Let us know in the comments below as always, guys. And of course, keep it subscribed to the F1Chronicle.com to see much more video content on the pinnacle of motorsport just like this. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well. And we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.